Okay, so it's going to be a super casual stream. This is Wamelva Brighttooth with GG, Game Developers, Georgia Game Developers Association. And we have AshSaidHi and Tygarlily, awesome badass, God dang it. Leave that out too. Awesome streamers. And so we're going to kind of talk, they did a really fabulous panel about streaming, and we want to kind of focus a bit more on game development and how our fellow members of GGDA can proceed, especially in terms of getting the attention of muffins, of streamers who are in support of smaller game developers, as well as just what your opinions are in terms of what games you like and what do you like about it outside of just the whole game aspect. Mm-hmm. So I really liked what you guys said earlier in terms of the fact that a lot of game developers don't approach you guys, or you would like them to approach you more about essentially streaming their games. Can you talk a little bit more about, I guess, if you have any? Do you know any other streamers, for example, including yourselves, who really like to promote that small game development and who are willing to be able to promote small game developers?
Yeah. You want to go first?
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Brain work. I can't think of anyone.
I definitely know people who want to broadcast and help indie developers. Like a lot of the people who run in the retro community, like whenever developers reach out to them because they have like an RPG that has a pixel look, or that has like some kind of thing that vibes with PlayStation 1, or like anything that feels like that, yes. Broadcasters, I feel, generally do love working with indie developers, especially when the game aligns and is like super special and feels like it's really targeted to them and their audience. They want to do it. Of course, the things that might be a barrier to entry is if it's always expected to be free work, or you want to put like hey, we sent you this code, like you have to respond within a certain amount of time. Like if you're not paying the person for their time, like there's a lot of things that you got to work out in terms of the ask, right? So I think that's sometimes because obviously if you're an indie developer, your budget might be limited or something like that. So that's why it has to be super targeted, and it has to be like this relationship is not just this one and done thing, but you want to work with us over time. I feel like that's going to be something that will really attract streamers to your project. And also if you can't pay them because maybe your budget is limited, finding ways to amplify their channel, or finding ways to kind of, help them in their streaming journey, making it a thing we're doing together would absolutely help.
Yeah. A good way of doing that, right? Indie developers usually don't have a budget for that because that falls into your marketing budget. One thing I had done with a few devs is they give me a key, but I was like, hey, let's work something out where I also give away the keys during game, to get chat excited, to bring people in. But what if no one shows up to that stream? So how can that indie dev help boost that? So maybe we could share it in your Discord, or we could share it in your network of your game devs, so that way they can show up to the stream and make it exciting for the streamer.
Yeah, I think also being present while you're broadcasting is really exciting too, because then not only do I get to talk to the dev and get real-time insight into their work and learn about how excited or important this project is to them, but also my chat gets to talk to them, and that's really special, because then they will be more enticed to want to check out the game, because now I get to learn a little bit that I didn't get to see before, and that's always really fun and supportive. If devs do that, that's a big A+.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, and then people can come find you networking wise and be like, oh yeah, I know you did this game.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I've had people who hung out in my chat, the dev was there, and because they were so active and really cared about having that conversation with me and my community, then that person who was also a streamer worked with that dev. I've seen it chain, where it's I played a game, then they played the game, then another person I know played the game, and it was a really good pool of showcasing this game off.
Yeah.
Any encouraging words for people who are camera shy and, you know, like, okay, I don't know if I can get my face on there, but I do like this opportunity and I think it's a good idea.
I played Star Trek Online and all the devs just came into my Discord and did voice. They didn't have to show their cameras, but that was cool. And then I got to talk to them about how much this game impacted me and like how I was like building a community around playing that. But yeah, like you just want to come and hang out on voice. You want to, you know, like give me some, you know, cool like fun facts about the game, and that way maybe I can read it. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be camera stuff.
Yeah, it's always fun to have the dev on camera, but I think the voice is just enough, right? Like, it gives a streamer someone to talk to, and someone else to elaborate on something and share, like, hey, I see that you found our glitch, hee hee, this is in the works to fix it, and this is what we're working on that side. So it's a really good conversation to have with the dev, as Ash was saying. For people that are camera shy, one of my dirty secrets was I actually put a mirror behind my webcam. So I would look at myself and be like, okay, that's the face I'm making, instead of just like, you know, I know other streamers or people who are using the webcam that are shy that'll have another monitor open with their streaming software so they can see themselves. So it makes it less awkward when you're just staring at the lens, because it takes a lot of practice to get used to talking to lens like it's an actual person with hundreds of people behind it. It's an art form.
Yeah.
I literally would put a mirror behind it and just be like.
And I think I'm going to do that.
Great advice.
Yeah.
So you're talking to a human instead of like, oh, look at this random light.
Yeah.
Okay, so is the expectation for the game, or are streamers willing to show games that aren't complete? So let's say they say I have 3 really good levels and the whole thing isn't complete yet. It's not a whole, 10-day play. How do you think they feel about that?
I do it all the time. Steam Next Fest is demos, you know what I mean? I've gotten demos from developers at PAX East, and then, once you get to the end of the demo, everybody's like, oh my God, no, it's over. Why is it over? But then, everybody's like excited that you had so much fun, and then you have this thing to look forward to. So absolutely. You don't have, I've done games that were still in early development and stuff like that, and the game doesn't have to be fully finished for us to do it. It's fun when you have more to look forward to.
Yep, yeah. It doesn't have to be finished. I just did Legacy, Steel, and Sorcery by Notorious Games Studio, and they didn't have much. They even had they just put I don't know what it is in the engine where it's just a brick wall. But it wasn't a brick wall. It was you could still see you were just walking around in the engine. But it didn't bother me because the point of the alpha test was to see how well PvP went against each other. So I was like, I'm going to focus on that, and chat focus on that, and they thought it was fun. It was so.
I did this game, Crystalla, which is like Dark Souls, but you get to play as a cat, and all the enemies are like rats or mice and stuff like that, or dogs. And that game is still in early development. But the cool thing is that they shared their entire calendar of this is when phase 1, phase 2, whatever. So I could share with my audience, this is what's coming up and this is when it's coming up, or and it's cool to get that progress.
Yeah, it's exciting to be a part of it too.
Yeah. And give input, if you see anything that's oh, this could be done better, or I had trouble here, So it's very helpful for them as well.
That's great. It's a good thought. Feedback potentially from the people within the chat. Who might be able to get that. So that's a good way to test and source that, and still be able to collaborate and promote. So thank you for that. Okay, nice. So just more personal question: if you could do a spin-off or a mod, or just make any game whatsoever, if you had all control, what would you do?
That's so funny. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, no. Okay. I've always liked Skyrim and the mods that you can put into Skyrim, so it's already out there, but the idea of Dark Souls with cats is already there, so what could I do differently? I want a horse game like Red Dead Redemption that focuses on your partnership with a horse. I think that'd be really awesome. I don't know how I would mod that into something that's already around, but Red Dead Redemption already did super good with just your relationship with the horses, and so I want something more like that. I'm not a modder, so I don't know what I would mod.
Even if it's just a new game.
Yeah.
I feel if I were to make a game, I would want to make a shmup, a shoot 'em up, something kind of Not like Ikaruga style, but more like UN Squadron or like Gradius 3, Life Force, like that kind of gameplay style. Or I'd want to make an RPG, like just like a basic, like either a point and click, like kind of style adventure, or like a full-on Final Fantasy VI style RPG, but maybe just a little shorter, you know? Like that, those would be where that's where my head would go first.
All right. So what do you think for you guys? What makes a successful game for you? Like if you're like, holy crap, this, like what aspects of it specifically?
There's a mix of everything that makes a game good for me. I want a good story. I want something that gives me goosebumps. Senua's the most recent game that came out, Senua's Sacrifice. That one I think has been the best game for me personally this year, because I like a really good story and something that makes my senses just pop. But another success for me is something that I can make memories in. Overwatch was a really good one. They created characters that were lovable. They created experiences for their players, and then they created just like an entire community based on esports. So, yeah.
I'm a loot goblin, so I love collecting. That's why I love games like Morrowind, where I'm exploring and collecting, or like Breath of the Wild. Like I just love running around, opening up the map, and like collecting all the monster guts, or like the things to make food with and stuff. I love collecting, so that makes it fun for me. And just generally, if the game makes me feel like I'm having fun. Like I know that could be a little esoteric, but that's the most important thing to me. That's probably why I love Nintendo games so much, because they focus on, are you having fun? Is this a fun experience, like, you know, above anything else? So that to me is like the most important part.
What do you think both major developers and indie developers are? What do you think they tend to overlook in terms of whether it be gameplay or just in general?
I think for a long time, your ability to have characters that you can relate to that feel like you. Like, for example, being able to play a character that is a woman or has curly hair like me. Like, for a long time, that was overlooked. And I feel like now, especially indie game developers, are paying closer attention to having more representation of people in the real world. And I hope that is a trend that continues, you know? Or being able to pick your pronouns in a game, and it doesn't, you know, like you can pick non-binary pronouns. Like I think that is extremely important.
Yeah, she nailed that one on the head with what's been overlooked, because I want to be a rogue, and if I have the option in any game, I'm good to go. Like, so, and being able to customize yourself. So customization has been really awesome. But, you know, it's hard because these massive studios have huge teams to work on stuff and can grab input, but they are held down by what their investors want out of them. So if their investors are like, I want a game that does this, they're stuck doing that. Whereas in an indie group, they probably have investors do the same, but they're less likely to do that, I feel. And so with indie studios, there is more room to do what the indie devs would like to see out of their game. And I like seeing that more with the indie devs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you both love kind of nostalgic. I know you're a big Nintendo fan. So since a lot of indie developers kind of are working with a minimal budget, and I do see a lot, especially when GDDA tends to work on the kind of nostalgia feeling, so if someone decides to choose between a nostalgic video game over more like a 3D, you know, FPS, what makes you choose the nostalgic version, or I guess just the indie version?
I think for me, it's just something that resonates because that's what I grew up with. Like, that's probably why. It's not that I wouldn't play like 3D, you know, fully rendered or like realistic looking games. I think also because my computer handles the other better, you know. I don't have like a beefy computer. So that's why I also tend to play games that are a little bit more less hardware intensive. So it's a mix of like, I like this, so I want to play more of it, and also what my computer is capable of.
Yeah, Thor and I play a lot of indie games. He always finds something new and exciting that releases, and we played it. We did Brigade recently. What was the one we downloaded today?
Magicians of Legends 2.
Yeah, and it's very much, it's got like the Hades cel-shaded look to it, but it's also almost feels like a dungeon crawler, but it's not. And then it does the roguelike where like as you're progressing through the levels, you then get an ability. I like games that put a lot of thought into their level up system and your progress, and I like them really hard. So I think a lot of like the newer games with that 3D look to them, they're more action based, which is fun too. I do like action RPGs, but I like a strategy based, like it could be cel shaded or a platformer, and those are fun to me. And I find nostalgia in dungeon crawlers specifically because I started a lot of my favorite gameplay. Like when I was younger, I got into Champions of Norath and then Diablo 3. And right, like I'm going to play something that I resonated with when I was younger because I want to try the newer versions of them. So.
I have a few more, so I know it's been a long day for you. Okay, so what do you look for outside of games? Like, let's say like voice acting, background design. Like what's that one kind of kitschy thing you're like, wow, I really like that weird, like the sound, animation, and what game associates with that?
I love music in a game. If a game has really good chip tunes or like really good sound design, like that to me is usually one of the first things that will call to my brain, other than like maybe the pixel low poly look. So if your game has a banger soundtrack, and especially if I can download that soundtrack, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Narrative, so story writers of the game, a good like story. So if the game looks great and it sounds great, but then I'm reading what the quest gives, and I was like, there is no spirit and there's no passion in this writing, I don't get I don't care. I just skip, or I just stop playing. Yeah.
And then lastly, what game, big or small, would you like to see made into a book or a movie?
Oh, that's a good question.
They're doing that with Dark Souls and Elden Ring, so there is no story for those. It's just what they write, but the fans have been gathering enough information to make their own books. Mm-hmm. So there's a fan-based book of Dark Souls / Elden Ring that only they have gathered from playing and interacting with the community. So I think that's cool, but there's no official one out. I think that would be cool to get one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love a book of The Legend of Zelda. Like, I know that there's manga out there, but I'd love to see the perspective of what they could do with that, like as a book. I know there's talks about a movie, but yeah, I'm really curious how they would build that world out. Or Oblivion. Oblivion would make an excellent book.
I wonder how many writers made their book from playing Oblivion, because everyone gets a rare experience, and they're just like, I'm gonna write after my character. That happens so much with writers. I see.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I could see like totally like a, Tolkien-esque kind of world building in the world of Elder Scroll in general. So yeah, somebody please write the Khajiit book. I want to see that Khajiit adventure. Yeah.
Well, thank you for answering these. I'm hoping this is insightful for our future game developers and what direction they want to go to. And just one more time, I know you did before, but please promote yourself. Tell me where you stream, how to spell.
Yeah, I'm Tygarlily, Tygarlily. You can catch me on Twitch or YouTube with some fun content. But I'm also on most platforms, so.
Yeah. My name is AshSaidHi, and you can find me mostly on Twitch, but also TikTok, Threads, YouTube, Blue Sky, Instagram, all that stuff. And I stream 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
And in retro games, and
yeah.
I believe you would call it the Mr. Rogers.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Well, thank you guys. Have a good one. Enjoy the rest of Shao Kahn.
Yeah.